AM show. Let's settle down for some AM talk with my guest with 29 minutes after 7. Mr. Frederick Amankwa Asafo is a member of the New Patriotic Party's communications team, and Dr. Ahmed Jenapo is a lecturer with the University of Education in Winneba. We've got an education story, some strike action being called, and he will help us tackle that. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Happy New Year, I guess, even though we're well into the year.
We have, but yeah. It's the first time meeting, so I guess it's in order.
It's true. Dr. Jenapo, we haven't talked about your brother.
Who is that? I have two brothers.
Deputy Chief of Staff.
Jenapo.
I haven't asked of your view on how well he'll do as Chief of Staff.
You know, Deputy. I'm definitely biased. And he's my brother. I can't say anything bad about him. But I've known Ebu since childhood. I see him as a friend. And almost everybody who happens to know the two of us knows that he's a very good friend of mine. I mean, first, I can't doubt the judgment of His Excellency the President, in the sense that this appointment was made by him. And I believe he has confidence in him, and he's been with him for a very long time. And to be honest with him, the President has been like a father to him in terms of helping him pay his accommodation, school fees, and all those things. So this is the kind of relationship that they have. I wish him the best of luck, and I know he's definitely will be up to the task, and it's just the beginning regarding his.
Is it hard not to belong to any of the sides? Because
myself, I don't.
Because that must be difficult, right?
It's not. It's not. I mean, it's about being principled and looking at what you want to do. There wouldn't be a problem if I decide to join any of the political parties, but I vote. I do vote all the time, and I know whom I vote for. But I've always made it a policy that in public I speak as an intellectual, or try to be an intellectual, and leave Mr. Amankwa and Co to do their
okay, let's start off. Now that we have that cleared, let's start off with the vetting, the appointments committee's work, and the people that have appeared so far. Saturday was a bit unusual because it was a Saturday. They still sat and closed after 3. So far, what do you think about the people who have appeared before the appointments committee? I'm not restricting this to only Saturday. We can talk about Friday as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. And without doubt, without any shade of doubt, this crop of ministers designated that have been vetted have shown their mettle for the job. Safo Mafu was splendid. I learned a lot from him. I've known Safo Mafu for quite a while, but on Friday when he was being interviewed, you could see the exuberance and the intellectual analysis that he brought to bear. Kenneth Riata, you can't fault him. His humility, his knowledge in the sector he was going to was just phenomenal. And all of them, I think that we've had some babies with sharp teeth coming on board. This is a new crop of ministers. This is a new phase of governance.
The deputy ministerial list is not out yet.
Yeah, so we are not going to have babies with sharp teeth. We're going to have babies with sharp brains.
What's sharp teeth? Babies with sharp teeth.
Such as?
Well, I don't have the list. I don't know who.
But already you know that they are not babies with sharp teeth.
I know that anybody who comes on board is coming on board with finance. I mean, with finesse, and we will be glad we voted for Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo. His judgment. My brother just alluded when he was making a point about his brother. The sort of wisdom behind Nanado's picking of ministers, it's not seen in this country for a very long time. For the past 8 years especially, we've seen anything but good governance. And the crop of people who are coming on board this time around, we are very certain that everything that is bedeviling this nation will be resolved.
Dr. Jenapo?
Well, I think, Mama, let's speak to this issue regarding the essence and rationale behind vetting. In the sense that in this country we have a system whereby we practice something called separation of powers, and we give the electorate the opportunity to more or less evaluate individuals who have been nominated by His Excellency the President through what? This process, which is what? Our representatives. So, during such processes, we want to know who this candidate is. For example, Osafo Maafo. I know Osafo Maafo. I mean, I don't need to see his CV. I've known him, his job and everything, but he still has to be subjected to this process of what? Vetting. We want to know. For instance, there's this new ministry created known as what? Senior Minister. In fact, it's not a novelty because if you remember, Kufuor once created it, but I don't know, I stand to be corrected. I think before the end of Kufuor's tenure, it was abolished. That position was abolished. I stand to be corrected. Yeah,
I know that subsequently we didn't have any position like that. Yeah, we didn't have any
position like that. And the reason why I raised this question is, why was it removed and now it is being reintroduced? Because maybe the current president has a different way or he wants to use it in a different manner. That is why we need to know the position of the what? The minister for, what did they call it? The senior minister. There were some people who did say that his job was supposed to have supervisory responsibility over the ministers. And I said, if that is, then what is the job of the president? What is the job of the vice
chief of staff?
What's the job of the chief of staff? But during that meeting, you realize that this guy is supposed to be a convener in addressing some of the most important and critical issues that the Nana Addo administration looks at or wants to be addressed. Generally, I think the vetting went on well. I wouldn't say that these are people with big brains vis-a-vis babies with sharp teeth. No. I want to say that, look, the caliber of people who have been nominated, and I hope they will be approved, they've demonstrated that, look.
Oh, sure, they will be approved.
Yeah, they will be approved. They've demonstrated that they understand governance. There's one thing, understanding, which is theoretical, and another thing, what? Putting it into practice. Because for me, the position of a minister is not a technocrat. It's not somebody who is well-versed in an area, but somebody who is able to demonstrate leadership. I'll give you a typical example. The Minister for Education, my area, Honorable Matthew Puku Prempe, he doesn't have any background in education. He's a medical doctor. In fact, some people thought he was supposed to be sent to what?
The
Ministry of Health. But Nana Addo, in his wisdom, said, look, let me put this guy here because interacting with him and knowing him, I think he has the leadership qualities of addressing the most important and critical and foundational area of what? Of our development, which is what? Education. And I'm looking forward to hear him speak tomorrow. I haven't had the opportunity of listening to most of these ministers because I've been a little bit busy, but I'm very, very particular about the Minister of Education because that sector, I work there, is one that has a lot of challenges. In fact, unfortunately, we seem to be overly obsessed with infrastructure development, building, and those stuff. But we fail to realize that the essence of education is how it can become beneficial in what? In terms of job. What are we doing about technical education? Technical education is becoming something of what? The past. In fact, when you happen to be involved in technical education, people think that, quote and unquote, and excuse me to say, you are not that intelligent. Everybody wants to go into the liberal studies. Even universities that are mandated to engage in certain core areas, today what are they doing? They are going into business, they are going into medicine. You understand what I'm saying? They are going into law, which shouldn't be the case. So what is the minister going to do? How is he going to ensure that education is not just about certification? You understand what I'm saying? It's not about certification, but today, Mama, you know very well that you have people who hold first degree and they work with you as national service personnel. And their performance, excuse me to say, is appalling. We really have serious problems. So, as a Ghanaian and as somebody who is interested in how this country moves forward, I want to see a paradigm shift in whatever we do. Whatever we've been doing and doing it all the time since we've entered into this fourth Republican dispensation seems not to have worked. And my advice and my little advice as an ordinary Ghanaian is that these ministers should not do business as usual. I think Ghanaians do not vote for Nana Addo because of one district, one factory, one dam, one village. No, people wanted a change. A change, proper change in the way we do things.
But a change that also comes with the things that you
Of course. I mean, if you put up one district, one factory, and the people in that community do not have this mentality that this factory is ours, they do not have ownership. but it's a Bayajuma as usual. Do you think it will grow? It will collapse. So I think there needs to be change, total change in our mindset, in our attitude, and the way we do things. And that should start with what? The ministers, the people who are appointed to occupy those positions. I mean, big brains good, but there needs to be change in a way we do everything. Because at the end of the day, if we are doing the same thing, I don't think that we are going to have any better results or any new results.
I wonder, though, the work of the appointments committee, these ministers designate who are appearing before them and the questions that they put to them. I mean, the people are not there yet. So whatever it is that you talk to them about, I mean, it's just their thoughts, right? So one wonders, I mean, can't we do away with this appointment committee stuff?
Well, it's part of our constitutional arrangement that ministers designate must be vetted. And
but is it useful?
It is useful because it gives the opportunity for people to know who is going to head which institution. And so, you know, if you don't do, and especially when it is done in the full glare of the cameras, you give us, the ordinary people of this country, the opportunity to know the people who are going into which ministries. And it also prepares these minister designates to really come out with some policy. You cannot say because you are not there yet, questions that are being asked, you shouldn't have answers to. You have been appointed or you have been nominated for that particular position because the president believes that you have something to bring to bear to improve the performance of that particular sector of our economy. And so it's an important exercise that we should do. What is not really clear is the type of questions that are being asked. Sometimes you listen to questions that are being posed to minister designate and you shudder.
It starts with the CV and there are corrections on the CV.
The corrections on the CV and sometimes some strenuous argument that comes on board. I don't want to go into the details of some of these things, but I think that we can do ourselves a lot of good because we are going international. I mean, whatever we discuss is you find them. Some of you are even streaming them live.
All of us are
streaming live, and it's all over the world. And so we should rise above pettiness. I see a lot of pettiness in some of the questions that are being asked, and sometimes repeated questions that have been asked by previous members are repeated. And you have, for example, some Marfu saying at a point that, look, these questions have been asked twice already. Why are you asking them? So one, it wastes time if we don't do, and then it becomes also partisan. I'm sure that some of these things are done before in committee level, at the committee level before they come in there. So rules of engagement that have been agreed upon, when they come to the public gallery, they should at least let these rules, they should bring to bear that you don't go back and start asking questions that we've decided, no, this is not important to ask. Let's get real. Governance is a serious business, and it is not about pettiness, about what somebody did and somebody didn't do. We can do better as a nation. But I would not advise, I will not think that it is important to do away with it. We have to maintain that. Okay. My worry is about the separation of powers. I mean, you have members of parliament who are also members of the executive. And then some of them will now sit as interviewee, and then they'll come and sit down as interviewers. So
classic, we saw Dominic Nitu, who appeared before the same committee that he sits on.
Exactly. So it defeats.
We will see Atachian also appear before that same committee.
But that is our constitutional arrangement. I hope that we can do something about that. It defeats the strict separation of powers. Though we advocate and we think that we have the executive, the legislature, the judiciary, you still have these mergers, and it doesn't really gel well if we are really talking about separation of powers. I would have expected that if members of parliament who will be on the appointment committee should not be part of the executive, and then we will know that there's a strict separation of powers. So what questions are you going to ask if you yourself, you are waiting to be asked the same question.
Well, but you know, they put a lot of questions to Dominic Nitiwu, for instance, the defense minister designate, who is also a member of the same committee.
Oh yes, why not? I mean, we would do that, but you still don't get the strict separation of powers in especially within the judicial, within the executive and the legislature. You need 50% of your ministers as a president. You need 50% of your ministers from the legislature. So where would you be able to? How would you be able to decouple the legislature and the executive? There's this same person who is playing dual role as an executive and then as a legislature.
I don't know, you know, what thoughts you share on
I don't
this.
think. I think the whole issue about strict separation of powers in Ghana is non-existent. By our constitution and our nature of governance system, we don't have strict separation of powers. In the sense that, as he rightly said, 50% of members of cabinet or the executive needs to be appointed by from the legislature, which is a constitutional requirement. And I believe the framers of our constitution, I mean, putting out this provision was informed by precedent. Those who happen to have followed the history of politics in this country will tell you that at a point in time, even Liman's budget was nearly not passed because of this whole of strict separation of power, where we had the legislature and the executive, and where we have a confusion, there's going to be chaos. So if we really, as a people, want to take a look at this system where we should have strict separation of powers, that's a different ball game that needs to be looked at. That said, I don't think there's anything wrong with questions being repeated. If you happen to have been interrogated by an investigator or whoever, you will find out, look, certain particular questions are repeated and repeated again. Investigator. The essence of this,
except that these are not investigators.
They are investigators. Of course, they are investigators, Mama. Why are they not investigators? You have been appointed to the position of what, Minister of Finance. Somebody who is going to be in charge of our money. In fact, I'm being told that the Minister of Finance was asked a question about a book he wrote, and he didn't remember that he had written a book. You understand what I'm saying? It's about leadership. It's not about technocracy. It's about leadership. You want to know the demeanor, the temperament, and the way the person behaves when he or she is under pressure. Do you get what I'm saying? We are talking of MPs who represent all levels of people. Questions that Mama, you would think are trivial. For somebody in my village, Fufusu, that is a question that he or she wants to be asked.
Isn't it almost a bit embarrassing when the person answers by saying, as I just said, or as I said earlier? Doesn't it send the message across that you were perhaps not listening to his or her earlier response?
That is where it becomes problematic. When, as a matter of fact, a question has been asked, and that same question is repeated because that person or the questioner was not listening, it becomes problematic. But if a question has been asked, and you, the questioner, listen to the question asked, and you are asking the same question, you need to add what do they call it? You need to add something that, look, even though this question was asked, I am asking this question again because during your response, you do not address A, B, C, D. But the reality on the ground is that we are a developing country when it comes to democracy. What we have now may not be perfect in terms of questioning and in terms of the quality of questions that are being asked. But I think at the end of the day, even though these individuals have not occupied the position that they are being nominated to occupy, even when you are going for interview, you ask questions. When you apply for a job to work at Joy News, and I say, look, I'm going to be the best anchor, even though I haven't worked here before, I need to be able to demonstrate that I'm capable of fitting into that position. So vetting or interview, so to speak, I mean, there are three things. You want to know if that person or individual has the capability, has the understanding, and has the temperament of occupying that position. We've had instances where people have mentioned their names, and they ask which one is your last name, and they have problems with telling us which is their last name. I mean, we've had instances where people have been asked, what is your career history, or what job did you occupy? And the person says, I was a senior prophet or whatever it is. Do you understand what I'm saying? So this is what we are talking about. Of course.
But they have not disqualified anybody before. It doesn't really matter what response you give to them.
And that is where I think that moving forward, it's always very important for them to set a scheme. What is the marking scheme? What are the parameters for determining whether a person passes or not? Is it just about the person being able to wax? Or is this just that the person, when the person is a good communicator? That is why, for some of us, we are not looking at your ability to speak, but we are looking at what? The responses and how genuine your responses are when it comes to most of these issues. Because, like it or hate it, most of these people have been in private life. Are there going to be conflict of interest? As an attorney general, what have you been doing since you were in opposition? Do you understand what I'm saying? I mean, do you have a tainted record? I mean, were you somebody who happened to have been what? Have been sacked from school because you were engaged in examination malpractice? Or, I mean, all these kind of things. Your background tells and informs us the kind of person that you are going to be. And I think this vetting gives us, we, the general public, the opportunity to be able to know what these individuals. And I think moving forward, I mean, we should even be allowed to present questions.
As seen as the public?
As the public. What's wrong with that?
Well, but there were a few questions that
from the public.
Some of the members asked on behalf of outsiders.
In fact, that provision is clear. The names, if the names are given out, members of the public
who have any concerns,
should come out there and do it. For me, because it is Parliament, I would think that you don't just get up in Parliament unless it's a debate. But if you're going to make a statement on the floor of Parliament, you would need to present it to leadership for them to quote and unquote vet it before.
But I'm sure if you have any special concerns, you still come back to the chair of the committee.
Of course, but you can't also.
And I wouldn't think that there's no criteria for passing. I'm sure that after all.
What is the criteria?
I don't know.
Why haven't we seen anybody refused?
But this is democracy.
Or it's still majority minority kind of game they are playing.
We go to vote. That's what happens. At the end of the day, you have to subject.
No, but what I mean is that at the end of the day, Frederick, the point that I'm trying to make is that, let's say Neto is being interviewed for this position. What is the benchmark for determining whether he did well or not? For us, it's about how he responds to questions, whether the questions are right or wrong. For us, it's about how he's able to communicate. You understand?
But you want to know for the committee.
The committee, what is that? Because when you go for interview, you have a scheme, you have a chart, dressing, eloquence, and all those things.
I'll not doubt if that is also there.
But we don't.
But since it's a public hearing, we should know, then we should also understand what goes into it.
What is the mechanism for determining who passes and who fails? But all in all, I would be very surprised, unless maybe one or two. The deputy ministerial list is not out. We have the ministerial lists, at least 36. And as I said, beyond reasonable doubt, these are individuals who are well accomplished. I mean, you take somebody like Kendapa, for instance. Kendapa initially, when he was appointed as Minister for National Security, I was wondering, I mean, wouldn't it be duplication of a job? Because we have Minister for National Security, you have Interior Minister, you have Defense Minister, you have National Security Coordinator, National Security Advisor. But listening to him, I think it's a position that I hope to see him perform. Because unfortunately and quite interestingly, in this country, when we talk about security, we are talking about somebody watching so that there's no coup or this or that. But I think we have to be looking at financial security. It's a very, very important aspect that we need to look at. We have so many foreign investors. Yeah, we need them. But how much money stays here when all is said and done? The capital flight.
I would even advocate for electronic security.
No,
I mean, it's even more than
electronic security.
Electronic security
yes,
means what?
Like in terms of the internet and the e-banking and even the social media.
So that will fall under cyber security.
Cyber security, yes. But in a broader sense, cyber is just one of it. But the whole telecommunication industry, the whole mass media and the social media, all these things must be taken care of. Because look, countries that have issues, some of them were started on the social media. If you look at the Arab Springs, these were started on social media, and so we have to get somebody who can also be able to watch what is going on and then.
No, I disagree.
I'm not advocating for policing, but if on the physical plane we have police standing at vantage point to make sure that people do things right. I think that when we
there should be.
Yes, when we come to the electronic world as well, we need to find out people doing the right thing. You're not saying that people. Look, cybercrime is a very serious issue across the globe. money laundering is a very serious issue. Even drugs and all these things are being done using the social media and the internet and a lot more of these things. We need to get somebody who really has an eye for some of these things so that we are not caught off guard.
I want us to just quickly go through the list of people who will be appearing today. We have the Minister Designate for Local Government and Rural Development, Haji Alima Mahama, the Minister Designate for Trade and Industry, Alan Kwejo-Chinemantain. That's one that a lot of people will be interested in. We also have the Agric Minister Designate.
Is it Trade and Industry or Minister of Trade? What does the appointment says? It's Minister of Trade.
The paper that I have here is Trade and Industry, but I'm going to cross-check what you've just said.
It says Minister of Trade.
There's also Energy Minister Designate, Emmanuel Boachi Ejako, and already we know there are talks of possible doomsday because of a shutdown that's going to happen if sometime in February. So, but these 4 persons appearing, where is your interest and what are your expectations?
Well, let me start from the doomsday issue, because if you realize, doomsday was a major problem for this country, economical. I mean, you those in the private sector even had the most brunt of it, and most people were laid off. And if you remember, at a point in time, the ministry was decoupled. We used to have Ministry of Petroleum and Energy, and it was decoupled to Minister of Power and Minister of Petroleum. Today, it's been put together again. What could have informed that, I don't know. So what it means is that at the end of the day, I want to hear the minister designate, so to speak, what he's going to do in terms of bringing finality to this whole issue about doomsday. Because I think the policies that have been put in place regarding doomsday have not been sustainable. In fact, the reason why there's the guess that we may have doomsday is because I understand they are going to do some routine maintenance works and stuff like that, which will take 15 days. But that in itself is not something that is going to be long term. It's not going to be that long. So I want to know what he's going to do beyond even addressing the doomsday issue. You agree with me that the tariffs are also so high? The tariffs are really high. I mean, if you happen to be somebody in the business community and you happen to pay electricity tariffs, you agree with me that
even
the
private
tariffs
individuals.
in the private individuals. The second person that I'm also interested in is the Minister of Trade. From his announcement, it said Minister of Trade, and we've all known it to be Minister of Trade and Industry. I want to know why it's no more Minister of Trade and Industry, because at the end of the day, you realize there are other sector ministers that have been appointed, like private, is it business development? There's a Minister for Business Development and all those kind of things. So if it's Minister of Trade, then what it means is that his position probably, or his responsibility might have been reduced, because when we talk of trade, we are talking of what? It's a side industry, and I would like to hear much about that. When it comes to Hajia Alima, you know, there's this talk about elections regarding what do they call them?
The MMDs.
Yes, and I want to know how that is going to be done, because I always have a problem. Is it trade and industry?
Yes. This is the Ghanaian Times. It's also reporting trade and industry. I'm just cross-checking what the other papers are also reporting. Okay.
But with regards to this particular issue about election of MMD, district chief executives and municipal chief executives, it's a good idea. It's one that, when you look at it from the surface, is something that is laudable. But I think we also have to think through it. I don't know how it's going to be done. Whether it's going to be a competitive election like how MPs are done, or it's going to be a selected group of people where the president probably will nominate 2 or 3 people within the district who are MPP members, and they have to be voted for. That, I don't know how it's going to affect the beauty of that whole competition. So these are a group of people. I think the last one is, you said for?
Yes, I said for this Agric Minister as well.
Agric Minister is that's also a very important sector, because if you realize, we used to have Ministry of Fisheries. Now it's combined to Agric. And what informed that? We need to know. And for the past years, you agree with me that Agric has been going down. At a point in time, it was around hovering even below 1%. And Agric has always been our backbone as a country. And if Agric is reducing at this speed, you know, what is the minister going to do to hijack it? Beyond that, you look at I don't know whether the cocoa sector is under Agric or is under Ministry of Finance, but ideally, it's always under Ministry of Agric. What is he going to do? Because if you look at cocoa production has been coming down. So I think
he's a cocoa farmer himself.
He's a cocoa farmer himself. So these are 4 important sectors that I believe are critical when it comes to our development as a nation. Sure. And there's no doubt that all these 4 people, their credentials are very high. I mean, Alan Chiramatin, you can't say anything bad about him in terms of his credential. Ajia Lima was a former deputy local government minister. She's now an MP. She fought and won a constituency for the party. You take Akutose is definitely somebody who is very knowledgeable. He's very knowledgeable when it comes to Agric. I mean, he's been the ranking member for Agric in Parliament. So I think it's going to be an interesting day. But you see, in all of these things, I would have wished that when it comes to the parliamentary committee for vetting, when it comes to certain sectors, they should get some people who have the expertise, who happen not even to be in Parliament, to quiz them. I mean, they can be. There
was a suggestion. You know, there are committees in Parliament already, apart from the Appointments Committee. Yeah. The suggestion was, why don't you let the Agric Minister designate appear before that committee that would handle agric-related issues?
Even because of time, you can get some of them to come and sit on that on the appointment committee during interview of a sector minister for Agric. If it's energy, you get somebody with energy expertise, because the people sitting on that table cannot know everything about every ministry.
Well, isn't that why they have to do their homework? You know, you have to talk to other people,
Mama,
know what the issues are and what the people want to know.
Very quickly, let me land on this. Very quickly. If you happen to interview me on education-related issues, right, and you do all your homework, I can tell you for a fact that your homework will be good, but it cannot equal somebody who has the expertise in that field. Somebody who has been doing it for the past 20 years. You understand what I'm saying? Yes, it's something that can be taught through. And I think it's something that they've taught through it. And they've looked at the merits and the demerits. And that's why they've agreed on this. But I think...
Right to the committee.
With quality...
Dr. Jinapor is going back on his own words.
Yes.
He started by arguing that these are not technocrats. These are people who have been put there to show leadership.
Sure.
So if you bring in somebody to come and ask technical questions, that is for the technocrats.
You should have an idea about what you are going to do. You should have an idea.
If there's an idea, then the members of the committee, we all have ideas. The members of the committee are right to ask whatever they think a particular sector is. We should not reduce political appointees, ministers, to technocrats, because they are not technocrats. They should have knowledge, but we should still rely on our technocrats to do the real job, and the ministers and the appointees will show leadership, should make sure that, look, fundamentally we have what it takes to move the nation. Otherwise, you'll be looking for a minister in charge of energy and then looking for an energy expert. If, for example,
but fortunately, in the case of Agric, we have somebody who is also
we are good to go. We are good to go if we have an Agric person who is there, one who is a member of the party, two who has the trust of the president, two who has the confidentiality and the loyalty of the president to be so appointed. But in a large form, you have people who have to come from Parliament. When they are going to Parliament, they don't go because they have a particular expertise. They go because they have been able to galvanize their constituents to be voted for in Parliament. The president's hands are tied to pick 50% of his ministers from Parliament. So if you're going to look for people who have, for example, Agric, we are clear on that. If you're going to have people with social background or a doctor being appointed as an education minister, you think he has to know everything about education? No. But if he can show leadership and can show how things can move, you got to understand how things work. The most important thing. That's the most important thing.
All right.
You got to understand. So no matter what happens, the president can even change you even when you are in a particular position.
Quickly on your expectations of these four who are appearing today.
I have no doubt. All the 4 of them are no new faces. These are accomplished men and a woman of integrity. These are people who have shown over the years that they have what it takes to lead the sectors that they are. And you can't doubt the judgment of President Akufo-Addo. He has worked with these people. Most of these people are his colleagues from way back when he was in Parliament, representing the Buakwa constituency. So he has all he needs to know about these people. And I have no doubt that Alanche Martin, what are you going to take from him? He is a potential president of this country. If you take Abacha Jakon, he's been working at the World Bank or so, IMF for so long. And since he came on board for the past 8 years or so, we've seen what that man can come up with. Haja Alima, a very beautiful lady who has what it takes. I mean, for him, she represents the female, especially from the north, who must look at her as their role model and aspire to emulate whatever she's doing. And Dr. Afiye, I mean, he's a president's friend, and he's an expert. He's a farmer himself.
He's that close to him.
He's that close to the president.
That doesn't make him a person of substance.
Well, I guess in this context, a person that contrasts.
A person that contrasts, and he's also somebody who has been in the Greek sector for so long. Look, I'm so excited about the people who are being nominated, the people who have been designated to occupy various ministerial positions. We can't take anything away from anybody. We hope
Is there a fear that they could disappoint, though, because the expectations are really high?
The expectations are high. In fact, we've raised the bar so high that there will be no mediocrity. Nobody's going to accept excuses. We need to hit the ground running. And I have no doubt that Safo Marfo, being the utility player, yes, the senior minister, making sure that everything gels. And from his experience, and he's going to be the one who is going to coordinate all these ministries. And he said he was going to coordinate the economic ministries. So you will see that, look, we are eager, ready, willing, capable to move this country economically, socially, and politically.
We I guess, we want them to quickly start work. Some people are tired of the talking already. We want to see some action.
Yes,
we're going to take a little quick break. We'll come back and continue. Stay with us. All right, it's 8 minutes after 8. We're on AM Talk. We just have a few more issues to deal with. We want to close the issue of the Appointments Committee and touch on something that the Attorney General, Minister of Justice designate said when she appeared before the Appointments Committee on Saturday. Just to remind you, my guests in studio with me, Mr. Frederick Amankwa-Safo is a member of the NPP Communications team, and Dr. Ahmed Jenapo is a lecturer with the University of Education in Winneba.
Yes, regarding the vetting, I did make a proposal that moving forward, it would be better if people with certain expertise background in specific fields are brought in to more or less ask these ministers or this ministerial designates questions. It boils down to quality. The proposal boils down to quality. Quality in the sense that, look, even though you may not have the technical background in an area, our interest is to make sure that a person put there is not a round peg, is not a square in a round hole. Of course, before you come for such a position or before you come for such an interview, you definitely will have to be prepared. And at the end of the day, collectively, when you have each minister performing well, then it announced what? The benefit of what? The whole government. So, though you don't have the technical or you need not have the technical background in that particular ministry, you should be able to demonstrate that you are prepared and capable of managing that ministry. I think that needs to be what? That needs to be stated.
Okay. All right. Just a little detail of some of the things that Madam Gloria Kufu said as she appeared when she was being vetted last Saturday. There was a question about the independent prosecutor, and a lot of people have been asking questions about that position as well. We're still not clear how that is going to happen. The only thing I think she gave out was the fact that she supports that call or that office. The minority already thinks that will be a breach of the Constitution. Maybe you an insider. Is there anything? Is there any names coming up?
Well, I think the minority leader Haruna Idrisu Honorable has made a point that he'll be leading to courts. Let's put it to test. But
you can't go to court yet. I mean, what are you going to court?
So he said he'll be leading. He'll be going to court. He'll be going to the court because he thinks that there's been some constitutional breach somewhere. Our president is an astute lawyer. I mean, without doubt. And so I'm not sure that he would willingly breach the constitution. I support the independent prosecutor idea. How it will come into effect and show that it is independent would have to be looked at.
It means that the person must not come from the party?
Well, I don't know about that.
The person should not be like a known NPP person.
That's what it means.
Well, he might not have to be a card-bearing member of the NPP. I don't know about that.
But the person must also not be somebody who even empathizes or sympathizes with the party, because otherwise, what's the point?
Let's see how it pans out. An independent prosecutor, probably some legislation must be put in place to be able to pick it up. And then let's see what the president has when he proposes to have an independent prosecutor. For me, for anybody to kick against an independent prosecutor idea, it's strange because we are all talking about corruption and how to curb it. And the Attorney General, Minister of Justice, being a member of the executive, and if you're looking at political corruption, if you're looking at members of the executive finding themselves or doing things that would cause the nation to lose some money, and then the Attorney General, who is a member of government, a member of the executive, probably a member of parliament, leading to prosecute this person, there's always these personal issues in there. If you have an independent prosecutor who is not part of the executive, not part of the legislature, and is there to do his job, to make sure that we reduce the corruption to the barest minimum, we should all welcome it and say, okay, good news. This is a brilliant idea, and I think we should go about it.
Quickly, Dr. Jinapo, your thoughts on this, and then we'll go to the strike issue.
We need to be clear on this. The minority leader did not say that he's against a special prosecutor. That's not what he said. And I've never heard anybody, whether in the NDC or MPP, kick against a private public prosecutor. Nobody. The minority leader is saying that by appointing somebody to act as a special prosecutor, it's in conflict with Article 88 of the Constitution. He's talking about a constitutional matter, that all those things are vested under the Attorney General as stipulated in the Constitution. And I think that needs to be made clear. Secondly, this whole thing about a public prosecutor, it boils down to corruption. It boils down to corruption. People believe that this country is engulfed in corruption, that we need somebody to be independent to deal with it. Beyond that, we have independent agencies in this country. What is UOCO doing? Is UOCO not an independent agency? What about Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice? In fact, the public prosecutor, who is going to pay him? Is he not going to be under government? He's going to be under government. His budget will have to be a channel to the executive. And who is going to appoint him? The president. Is it going to be election? No. He's going to be appointed by the president. I think this whole thing, even though this idea is laudable, I agree with it, because for all you know, the Minister for Justice and Attorney General is so overwhelmed with so much work that he or she may not be able to deal with some of these things. The only way that corruption can be fought in this country is the president. The president is the single most important person who's supposed to fight corruption. If somebody is misbehaving in his government, and he thinks the person is not doing well, the person is corrupt, he has the responsibility to fire him and to prosecute that person. So this whole thing about private public prosecutor going to be a panacea to solving our corruption issues, for me, is a cliche. It won't work. It won't. In the sense, let me finish, please. It won't work. In the sense that you can only fight corruption if you are against corruption and you don't want corruption. And I must say, I have confidence in Anado when it comes to the issue of corruption. Because there's not been a single time that he's been able to you'll be able to paint him as somebody who has who is corrupt. I mean, throughout his public life, you can't say that. So him as a person is a good start for fighting corruption in this country. And I think the most important thing that needs to be done is that there needs to be leadership by example. And that is why I applaud him when he made a statement that, look, if you want to make money, go to the private sector. No, it's a fact. My brothers want to do politics, they should do their politics. I want to be in academia. You want to be in the media. We have the freedom and the right to make choices. But the most important and fundamental thing in dealing with corruption in this country is leadership by example. Whether we get a private prosecutor or not, and the president is corrupt, and his ministers are corrupt, I will be corrupt. But when you have a president who is not corrupt, he doesn't entertain and condone corruption, you sitting here, you'll be very scared to go out to be corrupt. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't want it to be a case that, look, this private prosecutor is going to be a witch hunter who is going to go after what? After the opposition, and he will not touch anybody in government and stuff like that. The president has the responsibility. If the president thinks that, look, there are so many things that have happened that needs to be investigated, Deputy Attorney General, make them too. Make them too.
It's very good insights, you know, what you're sharing. And I want us to touch on the last issue just before we wrap up AM Talk. The coalition of newly trained teachers, they've threatened to lay down their tools if the Nana-led government does not pay them the accumulated salaries by the end of this month. We're talking January. The teachers, numbering over 20,000, say they have not been paid a dime since they were posted in September last year. Explaining their dire situation, the president of the coalition, Samuel Yeboah, said some of his colleagues who were posted to deprived communities had to depend on loans for rent and payments of other necessities. And this continues. We're back to another fresh year with people threatening to go on strike.
Well, Dr. Jinapor he's in education. So
yes. In education, but I'm not in that level.
I know. You see, it's unfortunate that we've gotten here, but the threat of end of the month, lay down your tools at the end of the month, is a bit too harsh. We should wait, let the ministers come on board, let's have the budgets reviewed, and then all these things will be taken care of. It's not just the teachers. I'm sure the judicial
the state
attorneys are also having issues.
Yeah, but they have resumed work because the minister designated said, I think there's a meeting today.
So yes, we will have meeting with them and then ask them to rescind the decision and wait and see the next two quarters.
But this administration has inherited a lot. You have no excuse.
A lot in terms of what?
If these people, you know,
we've inherited a lot in terms of what?
Debts and things like that.
Yes.
But I'm coming to it.
Yeah.
I'm saying that these people were employed last year.
Yeah.
They started work in September and they haven't been paid.
Yeah.
You have no excuse to say that you haven't settled. They've worked.
No,
you've inherited everything.
They are going to be settled.
Profits and liabilities.
Yes.
They are going to be settled. What I'm advocating for is the end of month.
Well, there has to be some kind of timeline.
But end of, we have about how many days more to the end of month, and this is a new administration. We yet to have a full complement of government. So if you give a threat of 10 days or even less, today is 22nd, right? So we're talking about 8 days, 9 days. That will be too quick to act. They should understand that we want to do things right. We want to do the right things, but we also want to do things right. All right. Let's not take away the
what is the right thing? They say pay them.
It is right to pay them, but let us do it right. Let's not rush into it. Their accumulated salaries and all the areas will be taken care of. I'm sure that's not the only sector that we have. And if you look at a situation where even after 7th December, we still have people being employed when we haven't made provision for the 2017 budget.
I thought you were going to say even after 7th December, those who even worked on the elections.
Those who even worked on the elections have not been paid. You understand? And if these monies have not been factored into the 2017 budget, then you should understand that, look, we need to do something real quick. And I will give no excuse if we're not able to perform. But I can promise Ghanaians that, look, we are up to the task, and by the next quarter, 2 quarters, we will see all these labor unrest and other things will be brought to stop.
Dr. Jinapor, I'm just thinking that this group is just trying to be very smart, knowing that the minister designate is going to appear before the vetting committee. Let's put our concerns forward. Let's have him commit to something at least.
But you see, I think they are being unfair to the teachers. I work, and I depend on salary. I know what it means when you are not paid early for the month. Not when you are not paid at all. When I'm not paid for a month, I can't survive. And when I'm not paid early, especially, you know, when we're paid during December, and today is what, 23rd, I know what you go through. But you see, this issue is bigger than just these teachers. It's bigger. If you remember, at a point in time, somewhere last year, getting to the elections, newly trained doctors said they were going on strike. You remember? They said they were going on strike. And in fact, government had to quickly mobilize money to what? To pay them, because if they had gone on strike, the effects and ramifications towards their election would have been catastrophic. So they dealt with it. Today we are talking about 20,000 teachers. 20,000 teachers. They've not been paid for what? 4 or 5 months. And that is why I said this issue is bigger than just the teachers, in the sense that, Mama V, what am I talking about? Today, what we are told is that before government employs anybody, you have to get financial clearance from the Ministry of Finance. So what it means is that if you are a teacher and you are employed, immediately provision is made for what? For your salary. So if provision is made for your salary, why should a person wait for what? 4 or 5 months? Indeed, mostly when people are employed, they are made to start work the first what? Monday of what? The month. Such that, I mean, they can cater for you by the end of the month. So I think it's unexcusable, it's unpardonable for these young men and women not to have been paid for what? For 5 months. That said, I think these are some of the reasons why Ghanaians voted for the MPP party. They want the MPP to come and what? Provide solutions, not knee-jerk solutions. Solutions that will address these forever. Solutions that at the end of the day, we wouldn't have a situation whereby teachers threaten to go on strike because they've not been paid. The issues of the lawyers is different. The lawyers are talking about their conditions of service. It's not like they are not paid. Even when they were on strike, they were paid. When they were not going to work, whilst home for 3 months, they were collecting their salaries. That's a fact. But these guys, in terms of what the teachers, they go to school to teach every day, and they are not paid for 5 months. And Mama, this is where the problem is. These are some of the things why we have what? Serious challenges when it comes to what? Our educational sector. If you are teaching at a place like Peve, for 5 months you are not paid, and you don't go to school, can your head teacher do you anything? Can your district director tell you anything? I mean, he can't. You understand what I'm saying? And if every year it keeps what? It keeps revolving. You keep having the same problem. We'll definitely what? Have serious challenges when it comes to our educational sector. So look, Frederick, I'm very, very happy about how pumped up and enthusiastic you are regarding your party in terms of performance. For me, I wish the MPP well, and I wish that Nanado performs, because at the end of the day, I've always said it. If the president is successful, Ghana is going to be successful, and it will benefit me. You understand what I'm saying? If the economy is booming, where today we have the dollar to about 4.3, and before Nanado's first term ends, we have the dollar 1 to even 2. It's going to benefit me. So I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
And I think moving forward, what is most important is that the NPP will have to, I mean, disengage itself from we will. I think now we are talking of what? The NPP being what? A party of this country. Nanado will have to rope all of us, everybody in. There needs to be total attitudinal change, where you have people sitting down and watching the government and the president that, look, you say you do this for us. I think we are going to have a problem. How can we as a people help the president change our own ways of doing things, our own small corner, such that this country will move forward? I think that is where we have to be looking at. There needs to be total transformation of the way we do things. Sure. I see this to be a revolution, and I think we seriously will have to embrace it, and we have to work towards it.
All right, Dr. Ahmed Jinapor, lecturer of the University of Education, Winneba. We're grateful that you could be here. Mr. Frederick Amankwa-Asafo, thank you so much for your time as well. Are you sure we're not going to hear your name as Deputy Minister somewhere?
But that would be to our advantage, at least.
Give me something.
It will not be difficult getting access to him.
Everything that will be done in the wisdom of the president.
That is so political. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here.
Honorable, we'll be very happy to come to your office.
Thank you for joining us on this conversation. Definitely stay with us. We've still got a whole lot more coming your way.
Thank you.
Mama?
Yeah, boss.
Yes, boss.
Congrats.